Take a deep breath with me right now. Not the hurried breath of someone chasing the next moment, not the anxious inhale of a mind trying to control outcomes, but the slow, deliberate breath of a soul, remembering something ancient. Feel it. Life is breathing you. You are not managing the breath. The breath is happening. And in that simple realization is a profound truth. There is an intelligence beating your heart, growing your fingernails, moving the tides of the oceans, spinning galaxies in silent perfection. That same intelligence is guiding your life. Relax. Life already knows the way. From the moment you arrived in this physical body, something far greater than your personality has been at work. Before you had a name, before you developed preferences, before you learned the language of comparison and fear, you were pure presence. You were the sky before the clouds appeared. You were the ocean before the waves began to identify themselves as separate. And yet somewhere along the way, the ego whispered a lie. It said, you must control everything. You must compete. You must defend. You must prove. And you began to believe that you were the wave, struggling against other waves, terrified of crashing onto the shore. But what if you are not the wave? What if you are the ocean itself? The wave rises and falls. It appears for a moment, dazzling in the sunlight, and then dissolves back into the vastness. The ego trembles at this idea because it seeks permanence in form. It wants the wave to last forever. It wants recognition, applause, certainty. Yet the ocean is never diminished when a wave disappears. It is simply expressing itself in infinite shapes. In the same way, your life is an expression of an infinite intelligence. Your job is not to force the wave higher. Your job is to remember you are the water. So many of us live in quiet panic. We grip our goals. We strategize every detail. We replay past conversations. We forecast imaginary disasters. We believe that if we do not strain and struggle, everything will collapse. But look at the trees outside your window. They are not straining to grow. They are not competing with the sky. They are rooted. They trust the soil, the rain, the unseen process unfolding beneath the surface. The oak does not envy the pine. The rose does not rush the spring. Nature does not hurry, and yet everything is accomplished. Why do we imagine we are separate from that same divine orchestration? The ego says, if I relax, I will fall behind. The soul whispers, if you relax, you will align. And alignment is far more powerful than effort. When you are aligned with your source, you move with the current of life instead of against it. You stop trying to swim upstream, exhausted and resentful, and you allow yourself to be carried by something wiser than your intellect. This does not mean passivity. It means participation without fear. It means action inspired by trust rather than driven by anxiety. There is a difference between forcing a door open and walking through one that gently swings toward you. Life is constantly presenting doors. Some open easily, others remain closed no matter how hard you push. The ego interprets a closed door as rejection. The soul sees redirection. How many times have you looked back at an event you once called a disaster and realized it was a blessing in disguise? The job you didn't get, the relationship that ended, the plan that collapsed, each one carved a new path you could not see at the time. The mind judged it as failure, but the larger intelligence was rearranging the pieces of your life into a design more aligned with your growth. Life already knew the way, even when you didn't. The problem is not that life is chaotic. It is that we are addicted to certainty. We want guarantees. We want to know how everything will unfold before we take a single step. But faith is not the absence of planning. It is the absence of fear. Faith is knowing that whatever happens, you are supported by something eternal. It is understanding that you are not a fragile accident drifting through randomness. You are a divine creation, participating in a divine plan. Imagine holding an orange in your hand. When you squeeze it, what comes out? Orange juice. Not apple juice, not grape juice. Why? Because that is what was inside. When life squeezes you through pressure, through uncertainty, through loss, what comes out? Anger, bitterness, blame? That is not life's fault. That is what was inside. And the squeezing is not punishment. It is revelation. It shows you where healing is needed. It shows you the places where the ego still believes it is separate and in danger. When you remember that you are the ocean, not the wave, the squeezing changes. Pressure becomes purification. Challenge becomes invitation. You begin to ask, what is life teaching me? How is this serving my awakening? Instead of resisting what is, you lean into it with curiosity. You trust that even discomfort is part of the choreography. There is a rhythm to existence. Day becomes night. Winter becomes spring. Inhale becomes exhale. Birth becomes death. None of it is a mistake. Yet the ego clings to one side of every duality. It wants perpetual summer, constant success, endless applause. It forgets that without winter, there is no renewal. Without silence, there is no music. Without stillness, there is no clarity. You are not here to control the rhythm. You are here to dance with it. When you stop arguing with reality, something miraculous happens. The energy you once used to resist becomes available for creation. The mind quiets. The heart opens. You begin to feel guided rather than pressured. Synchronicities appear. Conversations align. Opportunities unfold with a sense of effortlessness that once seemed impossible. This is not magic, it is alignment. It is what happens when the wave stops fighting the ocean. The ego fears surrender because it confuses surrender with defeat. But surrender is not giving up, it is giving over. It is releasing the illusion that you must micromanage the universe. It is trusting that the same intelligence that paints sunsets and orchestrates the migration of birds is fully capable of guiding your career, your relationships, your dreams. Do you truly believe you are separate from that intelligence? Or have you simply forgotten? Close your eyes for a moment and imagine the vast sky. Clouds drift across it, some light and wispy, others dark and stormy, but the sky itself remains untouched. It does not cling to the clouds or resist them. It allows them to pass. Your thoughts are like those clouds. Worry drifts in, doubt forms, fear gathers like a storm. And you, identifying with the cloud, panic, but you are not the cloud. You are the sky, vast, unchanged, limitless. When you rest in that awareness, you realize that no external event can define you. Success does not inflate you. Failure does not diminish you. Praise does not complete you. Criticism does not destroy you. You are already complete because your essence is divine. And when you know this, you stop scrambling for validation. You stop chasing outcomes as if they are proof of your worth. Relax. Life already knows the way. Every time you attempt to force an outcome from a place of fear, you step out of alignment. You tighten, you constrict. You shrink into the illusion of separateness. But when you act from inspiration, from that quiet inner knowing, you expand. There is a lightness, a sense that you are being moved rather than pushing. This is the difference between ego-driven ambition and soul-guided intention. Intention is not about controlling details, it is about aligning with qualities. If you set the intention to live in peace, you will be guided toward experiences that teach peace. If you set the intention to embody love, you will encounter situations that invite you to choose love over fear. The path may not look like you expected, but it will always serve your evolution. Consider the seed planted deep within the earth. In darkness, it breaks open. From the perspective of the seed, this breaking might feel like death, yet it is the beginning of growth. You, too, have experienced moments when everything seemed to be falling apart. Perhaps it was not falling apart. Perhaps it was breaking open. Perhaps life was creating space for something greater to emerge. The ego resists breaking open because it thrives on familiarity. It would rather remain in a small, known prison than step into vast uncertainty. But the soul longs for expansion. It longs to express its infinite nature through you. And when you cling to the old, you block the new. When you insist on controlling the script, you miss the improvisation of grace. There is a deep intelligence within you that always knows the next step. Not 10 steps ahead, not the entire map, just the next step. And that is all you ever need. The mind demands the whole staircase before it takes a step. The heart needs only the next stone illuminated. When you listen to that quiet inner voice, you are guided with precision. It may tell you to rest when the world says hustle. It may tell you to speak when fear says stay silent. It may tell you to let go when attachment screams, hold on. Trust it. Trust that the discomfort you feel is not evidence of failure, but evidence of growth. Trust that the delays are not punishments, but preparations. Trust that even the endings are sacred. For every ending clears space for a beginning aligned with who you are becoming. You are not here to survive life. You are here to participate in its unfolding with awareness. When you shift from control to trust, from fear to faith, from ego to essence, something extraordinary happens. You experience freedom. Not freedom from circumstances, but freedom within them. You realize that peace is not found in arranging the world to your liking. Peace is found in aligning with the deeper current that flows beneath appearances. Imagine floating on your back in a calm sea. If you thrash and panic, you exhaust yourself. If you relax, the water holds you effortlessly. Life is like that. When you trust, you are held. When you fight, you sink into anxiety. The choice is not about controlling the ocean. It is about choosing your posture within it. I am not suggesting that challenges will disappear. Storms will come. Waves will rise. But when you know you are the ocean, the storm does not define you. It passes through you. And afterward, you remain vast, undisturbed at your core. Say to yourself quietly, I am guided. I am supported. I am exactly where I need to be. Feel the resonance of those words. They are not empty affirmations. They are reminders of truth. When you declare I am, you speak from the same creative power that brought the universe into being. You align with the source of all existence, and from that place, fear dissolves. The more you relax into trust, the more you notice that life is not happening to you. It is happening through you. You are both the instrument and the musician. The melody of your life is being composed in real time, and your role is to allow it to flow without insisting it sound a certain way. When you stop criticizing the notes, you begin to appreciate the symphony. There is no rush. The oak tree does not become mighty overnight. The river does not reach the ocean in a single leap. Everything unfolds in divine timing. Impatience is a signal that the ego is demanding immediate gratification. Patience is the soul's understanding that growth is invisible before it becomes visible. Relax. Life already knows the way. You do not need to have all the answers. You do not need to eliminate every uncertainty. You do not need to fix every imperfection. You need only to remain connected to the awareness that you are more than your thoughts, more than your fears, more than your temporary circumstances. You are an eternal being having a human experience, and that experience is designed for expansion. When you wake each morning, instead of asking, what do I have to control today? Ask, how can I align today? Instead of saying, what if things go wrong? Say, what if everything is unfolding perfectly for my highest good? Feel the shift in energy. Feel the spaciousness that enters your body. That is the difference between ego and essence. In the end, you will see that every twist in your path was purposeful. Every detour led to a deeper understanding of who you truly are. Every challenge refined your character. And the moments you thought you were lost were the moments you were being led. So release the tight grip. Soften your shoulders. Let your breath deepen. The universe is not confused about your destiny. The same intelligence that moves the stars is moving you. You are not behind. You are not off track. You are not forgotten. You are carried. And when you remember this, when you truly embody it, a profound calm settles into your being. You move through the world with quiet confidence. You act when inspired. You rest when called. You speak from love. You release resentment. You forgive quickly because you understand that holding on to anger is like gripping a hot coal. It only burns you. You trust that every soul you encounter is part of the grand design of your awakening. Relax. Life already knows the way. Let this truth sink into the deepest layers of your consciousness. Let it replace the old narrative of struggle and scarcity. Let it dissolve the illusion that you must fight for your place in the universe. You already belong. You always have. You always will. And as you walk forward from this moment, carry this awareness like a quiet flame within your heart. When doubt arises, return to it. When fear whispers, breathe into it. When uncertainty appears, smile gently and remember, the path is unfolding exactly as it must. You are the ocean. You are the sky. You are the intelligence behind the breath. Trust it, align with it, relax into it. Life already knows the way. And as you continue along this sacred journey, there will be moments when the path ahead appears obscured, when the horizon seems wrapped in fog, and your carefully constructed plans dissolve like mist in the morning sun. In those moments, the invitation is not to panic, not to grasp for certainty, but to deepen your listening. For beneath the noise of the world, beneath the chatter of the conditioned mind, there is a current of knowing that has never once been confused about your direction. You were born with an internal compass that does not rely on external approval. It does not spin wildly in the presence of criticism, nor does it inflate under praise. It is calibrated to truth. Yet many have been taught to distrust it. We have been conditioned to look outward for permission, to measure our worth by comparison, to seek validation in fleeting applause. And so the compass grows quiet, not because it has failed, but because it is waiting for you to remember its voice. When you begin to honor that inner guidance, something subtle shifts. Decisions are no longer made from fear of missing out or fear of falling behind. They arise from resonance. You feel into a choice rather than calculate it to exhaustion. There is a softness in the body when something aligns, a constriction when it does not. Your body is not merely flesh and bone, it is an instrument of intuition. It speaks in sensation long before the mind formulates language. Consider how a river finds its way around obstacles. It does not argue with the rock. It does not attempt to overpower the mountain. It flows, it curves, it adapts without losing its essence. That is strength without aggression. That is power without force. You, too, possess this capacity. When resistance appears in your life, you can meet it with rigidity or you can meet it with fluidity. The river never doubts that it will reach the sea. It understands that every bend is part of the journey. So often we mistake delay for denial. We assume that if something does not manifest immediately, it must not be meant for us. But what if timing is an act of compassion? What if certain doors remain closed because you are still gathering the wisdom required to walk through them? There are seasons for planting and seasons for harvesting. To demand fruit from a seed that has just been placed in the soil is to misunderstand the rhythm of growth. Within you exists the quiet sanctuary, untouched by circumstance. It is not shaken by market fluctuations, not diminished by relational conflict, not defined by titles or possessions. It is the space of pure awareness. When you rest there, even briefly, you recognize that your essence has never been wounded. Experiences may have left impressions on the personality, but the core of your being remains whole. Healing, then, is not about fixing what is broken. It is about remembering what has always been intact. The ego thrives on narrative. It collects grievances like trophies, rehearses stories of injustice, clings to identities shaped by past pain. Yet these stories, repeated often enough, begin to feel like truth. And still, you have the power to step outside the script. You can observe the story without becoming it. You can witness the memory without reliving the emotion. In that witnessing, freedom emerges. Forgiveness becomes less about excusing behavior and more about liberating yourself from energetic entanglement. To forgive is to declare that your peace is more valuable than your resentment. It is to release the illusion that holding on to anger will somehow restore balance. The past exists only as a thought in the present moment. And in this moment, you are free to choose a different interpretation, a different response, a different identity. Imagine standing before a mirror that reflects not your physical form, but your beliefs. What would you see? Would you see limitation or possibility, scarcity or abundance? If you have been gazing into a mirror of doubt, you may have forgotten that you are the one holding it. You can tilt it toward faith. You can polish it with gratitude. The reflection changes when the perception shifts. Gratitude is not a denial of difficulty. It is an acknowledgement of underlying grace. Even in the midst of challenge, there are threads of support woven through your experience. A lesson learned, a strength discovered, a compassion awakened. When you train your awareness to notice these threads, life begins to feel less like a battleground and more like a classroom designed for your expansion. There is immense power in the simple declaration, I am willing. Willing to grow, willing to release, willing to trust, willing to see differently. Willingness opens doors that force cannot. It softens the rigid edges of expectation and creates space for miracles to enter. And miracles, contrary to popular belief, are not violations of natural law. They are expressions of a higher law, operating beyond the limited perception of the ego. When you align with that higher law, synchronicity becomes commonplace. You think of someone and they call. You contemplate a new direction and an unexpected opportunity appears. These are not random coincidences. They are reminders that you are participating in an interconnected field of intelligence. Your thoughts carry energy. Your intentions ripple outward. You are not isolated. You are intricately woven into the fabric of existence. This understanding dissolves loneliness at its root. Even in solitude, you are accompanied by the presence that animates all life. The same force that causes flowers to turn toward the sun resides within your own awareness. You are never outside of it. You cannot fall from its embrace. The feeling of separation is a learned perception, not an ultimate truth. As you deepen into this realization, comparison begins to lose its grip. You no longer measure your journey against another's timeline. You recognize that each soul unfolds uniquely, like distinct notes in a vast symphony. To envy another's melody is to forget the beauty of your own. When you honor your path, you contribute authentically to the whole. There will still be moments of uncertainty. This is part of the human experience. But uncertainty need not equate to fear. It can become a sacred space of potential. When the future is unwritten, possibility is infinite. Instead of filling that space with worst-case scenarios, you can fill it with trust. You can say, I do not see the entire design, but I trust the designer within. And so you move forward, not with reckless abandon, but with quiet confidence. You take inspired steps without demanding immediate proof. You allow relationships to evolve naturally. You release the need to micromanage outcomes. You recognize that control is often a disguised form of insecurity, while trust is an expression of inner strength. Each morning becomes an opportunity to recommit to this alignment. Before the world rushes in with its demands, you center yourself in stillness. You remember that you are a spiritual being engaging in human activity, not a human being occasionally having a spiritual thought. From that remembrance, your actions carry a different quality. They are infused with intention rather than urgency. And as the days unfold, you begin to notice a gentle transformation. Situations that once triggered anxiety now invite curiosity. Interactions that once sparked defensiveness now offer compassion. You respond rather than react. You listen rather than assume. This is the quiet evolution of consciousness. It does not announce itself with fanfare. It reveals itself in subtle shifts of perception. The world may continue its noise, its speed, its endless striving. But within you, there is a sanctuary of calm that cannot be shaken. You carry it into boardrooms and kitchens, into conversations and quiet evenings. It becomes the foundation from which you live rather than a place you visit only in crisis. And in this way, your life becomes less about achieving a distant destination and more about embodying a present truth. You realize that fulfillment is not postponed until some future milestone. It is available now, in this breath, in this awareness, in this gentle surrender to the intelligence that has always been guiding you. So walk forward with a softened heart and an open mind. Let go of the need to choreograph every detail. Allow yourself to be surprised by grace. When confusion arises, pause instead of pushing. When fear whispers, return to your inner stillness. When doubt appears, remember the countless times you were carried through what once seemed impossible. There is a wisdom within you that predates your worries. There is a strength within you that does not depend on circumstance. There is a love within you that requires no external source. Anchor yourself there. And as you do, you will find that life does not demand your constant vigilance. It invites your conscious participation. It does not require your struggle. It welcomes your trust. It does not need you to dominate the current. It asks you to flow with it. Breathe deeply again. Feel the quiet assurance settling into your bones. You are not lost. You are not unsupported. You are not navigating a meaningless maze. You are unfolding precisely as you are meant to unfold. And in that unfolding, there is a quiet perfection. And as you stand here in this awareness, something within you grows still, not the stillness of emptiness, but the stillness of deep knowing, the kind of knowing that does not need evidence, the kind of knowing that feels like home. You begin to sense that nothing in your life has been accidental, not the detours, not the heartbreaks, not the long nights of questioning. Each experience has been a brushstroke on the canvas of your awakening. What once felt like chaos now reveals itself as choreography. What once felt like loss now reveals itself as refinement. You are not becoming whole. You are remembering that you have always been whole. The striving softens. The urgency dissolves. You no longer chase the horizon because you realize the horizon moves with you. The fulfillment you sought in distant achievements begins to glow quietly from within. It was never waiting at the finish line. It was waiting in your recognition. There is a profound gentleness available to you now, a way of walking through the world without armor, a way of speaking without defense, a way of loving without bargaining. When you trust the intelligence that breathes you, you no longer feel compelled to prove yourself to anyone. You understand that a rose does not struggle to justify its fragrance. It simply blooms. And so you bloom. You bloom in uncertainty. You bloom in transition. You bloom even in the presence of unanswered questions, because your blooming is not dependent on perfect conditions. It is an expression of your essence. You are life expressing itself as you, and life does not hesitate. Feel the quiet miracle of your own existence, the heart beating without your command, the lungs rising and falling in sacred rhythm, the awareness reading these words, all of it guided by something vast and benevolent. You are not separate from that vastness. You are a unique expression of it. Let this realization settle deeply. You are supported in ways you cannot always see. You are guided in ways you may not always understand. And you are loved by the very force that holds galaxies in place. Release the final remnants of resistance. Let the shoulders drop. Let the breath lengthen. Let the mind rest from its constant calculations. There is nothing you must solve in this moment. There is nowhere else you must be. This moment is complete, and so are you within it. Trust the unfolding. Trust the quiet nudges of your heart. Trust the invisible current moving beneath appearances. You are not walking alone. You have never walked alone. The path rises to meet your feet with each step, even when you cannot see beyond the next few inches of light. And as you move forward from here, carry this gentle certainty. You do not have to force the river. You do not have to command the sunrise. You do not have to control the turning of the seasons. Relax. The wisdom that created the stars is guiding your life with the same precision. And it has always known the way.
There's a river that runs through you, not a river of water, but of energy, of spirit, eternal, quiet, and profoundly alive. You were born into this stream not to grasp at the banks, not to cling to the rocks, but to flow effortlessly with the current of life. And yet, so many of us have forgotten. We hold on. We resist. We clutch stories and identities and pains like anchors tied to our ankles. We cling to the past, to expectations, to control, to what they said or didn't say, did or didn't do. We tighten our fists around things that are already floating downstream, believing that somehow in our clenching, we are safe. But the soul doesn't cling. The soul flows. The ego clings, that manufactured identity born of comparison and separation. It clings because it fears dissolving. It clings because it believes in lack. It clings because it has been conditioned to survive by controlling, by proving, by protecting a fragile sense of self built entirely on illusion. But the soul knows it cannot be harmed. The soul knows it was never lacking. The soul knows it doesn't need to become anything because it already is everything. It simply flows like wind through trees, like breath in the lungs, like love that does not demand anything in return. When you wake up to this truth, not as a concept, but as a felt reality, you begin to see how much energy has been wasted in holding on to what hurt you, holding on to who hurt you, holding on to who you used to be or who you think you need to become. It is all weight, it is all unnecessary. It is all the ego's attempt to control what the soul already understands, that everything is impermanent, and that impermanence is not the enemy, but the gateway to liberation. You do not need to carry what no longer serves you, not because it is wrong, not because it is bad, but because it is heavy. You were not made for heaviness. You were not made for tightness. You were not made to grasp. You were made to expand, to evolve, to become soft and supple and surrendered to the mysterious rhythm of life. You were made to flow. And flowing is not weakness. It is not passive. It is the most powerful act of trust. It is the choice to no longer resist the current of your own evolution. It is the courage to let go of the known and surrender to the vastness of the unknown. It is the decision to stop trying to control outcomes and start honoring alignment. It is the daily sacred practice of asking, where is life trying to take me, and am I willing to go? So ask yourself now, what are you clinging to? What story? What identity? What memory? What resentment? What version of yourself have you outgrown, but are still performing because it's familiar? And what would it feel like just for a moment to loosen your grip, to unclench your mental fists and allow life to move through you, not around you? Because here's the truth. When you release the need to control, you become available to grace. When you let go, you don't fall, you rise. You rise into the higher frequency of your own being. You rise into the flow state of the soul. You rise into a rhythm that is not frantic or forceful, but deeply peaceful, deeply wise, deeply loving. There is a quiet confidence in those who flow. They do not need to prove, they do not need to rush, they are not seduced by urgency or pressure. They move from presence. They listen to the whispers beneath the noise, they trust the signs. They walk away when it's time. They stay when it's true. They live not by force, but by alignment. You were never meant to swim against the current of your own truth. And what is your truth? That you are not the stories you've been telling yourself. You are not your wounds. You are not your resume or your failures or your reputation. You are not the name they gave you or the roles you were assigned. You are something far more eternal. A soul here for a fleeting moment, learning to remember who you are. And in remembering, you heal. You heal not by adding more to yourself, but by releasing what is not you. You don't become whole by accumulation. You become whole by subtraction. Letting go of the fear, letting go of the shame, letting go of the need for validation, letting go of the timelines, letting go of the weight. You don't need it anymore. You never did. Flowing means saying yes to your own becoming. It means no longer holding yourself hostage to a version of you that was necessary for survival but is no longer aligned with who you're becoming. It means trusting that what is meant for you will never require you to shrink, to strive, or to betray your own peace. Flowing means releasing the people who cannot meet you where you're going, not with bitterness, not with resentment, but with deep gratitude for what they showed you and a quiet bow as you both continue your separate ways. Flowing means grieving what has ended, but not dragging the corpse with you. Flowing means allowing the space in your life to be empty for a while, not rushing to fill it with noise, distraction, or new attachments, but trusting that the empty space is sacred, that the void is the womb of your next becoming, that silence is not absence, but presence preparing you for more. So often we say we want peace, but we are unwilling to release the chaos. We say we want to be free, but we are addicted to our chains. We say we want to flow, but we grip the riverbanks with white knuckles. The soul waits patiently, never pushing, never punishing, just whispering gently, let go, let it flow, I know the way. And when you finally listen, when you finally soften, when you finally surrender, everything changes. Not because the world has changed, but because your inner world is no longer resisting the current of life. You stop trying to swim upstream. You stop arguing with reality. You stop fighting your own expansion. And in that stillness, in that surrender, you remember you were always the river. You were always the flow. You were never the rock. There is a sacred intelligence flowing through all of life, an unspoken harmony that arranges galaxies and opens flowers, that carries the tide and breathes your lungs without needing permission. That same force flows through you. It's not something you must earn. It's not something that depends on your achievements or your past. It is your nature. The soul is not something you possess, it is what you are. And the soul knows how to flow because it is not bound by ego. It does not confuse stillness with stagnation. It does not mistake letting go for losing. It sees the truth clearly, that Everything you're afraid of losing was never truly yours, only borrowed for a time, a teacher in disguise, a season in the symphony of your evolution. The ego builds walls, but the soul opens windows. The ego fears death, but the soul knows only transformation. The ego asks, what will they think? The soul asks, what is true for me? And you must decide, moment by moment, breath by breath, whose voice you will follow. Do you want a life that clings or a life that flows? Clinging says, I am not enough, so I must hold on to this person, this job, this image, this pain, or I will disappear. Flowing says, I'm already whole, so I trust that what leaves is no longer aligned and what comes is already mine in spirit. One is fear masquerading as love. The other is love, pure and unshaken by circumstance. Let this moment be the moment you come back to yourself, back to the still, wise, unshakable presence beneath the noise of your mind, back to the space where you don't need to prove anything, where you don't need to fix yourself, where you don't need to get somewhere else. Back to the simple, sacred truth. You are already held. You are already guided. You are already flowing when you stop trying to be the river and allow yourself to become the water. You cannot flow while clinging, and you cannot cling while flowing. The soul invites you into a different kind of power, not the kind that forces outcomes or dominates others, but the kind that rises from radical trust. Trust that what is falling away is making space. Trust that what didn't work was never meant to last. Trust that the timing is perfect, even when it makes no sense to the mind. Trust that something ancient and eternal is always on your side, even when life feels like unraveling. Especially then, there is beauty in the unraveling. There is grace in the undoing. There is peace in the pause between chapters. And when you stop resisting that space, when you stop trying to rush through the uncomfortable unknown, you will feel something holy begin to open. The weight will lift. The breath will deepen. The tears will soften into prayers. The fight will dissolve into presence. And presence, my friend, is the doorway to the soul. When you are fully here, not regretting the past or rehearsing the future, you remember the only thing that has ever been real, this moment, this breath, this now. And in that now, the need to cling dissolves. Because you see, there is nothing to cling to. There is only this infinite moment of becoming. This is the invitation. This is the path. This is the liberation. To trust your flow more than you trust your fear. Your pain has shaped you, but it does not define you. Your story is sacred, but it is not your prison. You are not bound to what once broke you. You are not required to relive what you've already outgrown. You can thank the past for its lessons and then let it go. Not because you're denying it, but because you're no longer choosing to suffer under its weight. The past is not your home. The soul lives forward. You are not meant to stay where your spirit has already left. You are not meant to dwell in spaces that no longer resonate. You are not meant to repeat patterns that keep you small. You are not meant to make yourself digestible to those who cannot taste the truth of your being. You are not meant to betray your own peace for the comfort of others. You are meant to flow. And to flow, you must trust that letting go is not the end, it is the beginning. The soul doesn't cling to roles, titles, outcomes, or attachments. It doesn't demand proof. It simply flows faithfully, naturally, freely with the source from which it came. You are that source in form. You are that eternal presence expressing itself in a human lifetime. You are not separate from the divine. You are a unique, unrepeatable current in the ocean of God. And when you stop resisting that current, you return home to your deepest truth. I am not this fear. I am not this grasping. I am not this control. I am the one who watches it all come and go, untouched and unafraid. Flowing is not about giving up. It is about giving in. Not to weakness, but to wisdom. Not to chaos, but to the deeper order. Not to apathy, but to alignment. It is the realization that the more tightly you hold on, the more you suffer. And the more you surrender, the more you see life was never working against you. It was always working for your awakening. So breathe, soften, listen, let go of your agenda for a moment and ask the deeper question, what is life trying to show me? Where is it trying to lead me? What truth have I been avoiding? And what would happen if I simply said yes? This is not the path of the world. It is the path of the soul. It is slower, deeper, quieter, but it is also more powerful. It doesn't rush to fix. It doesn't cling to old maps. It doesn't need guarantees. It simply flows because it trusts. And as you begin to live from this place, your life changes. Not always in visible ways, but in foundational ways. You feel lighter, you react less, you forgive more easily, you stop explaining yourself to people who were never meant to understand. You find peace in solitude. You let love find you instead of chasing it. You speak your truth, not to convince, but because it's who you are. You live not from fear, but from freedom. And this is the deepest freedom, not the freedom to control everything, but the freedom from the need to let that be enough for now. Let it be enough to breathe. Let it be enough to not know what's next, but to trust that something sacred is unfolding. Let it be enough to release what you were never meant to carry. Let it be enough to simply return to the flow again and again, as many times as you need. You are not late, you are not behind, you are not broken, you are not too much or not enough. You are exactly where your soul needs you to be learning, shedding, remembering, returning. Because you've never truly left. You've only been distracted, you've only been afraid. You've only been trying to manage a river that was always here to carry you. But now you remember. Now you feel it rising in you. The call to flow, the whisper to let go, the sacred courage to stop clinging and start living fully, freely, fearlessly. Flowing is a remembrance, not a destination. You don't become worthy of it, you return to it. It's what you were before they told you who to be, before the world wrapped its labels around your light. Before you learned to perform for approval or to hide your wounds beneath a polished smile, the flow was always there beneath the striving, beneath the shame, beneath the noise. It's the you that exists when there's nothing to prove, nothing to defend, nothing to cling to, just presence, just love, just the gentle, patient rhythm of your soul moving in time with the infinite. When you stop trying to carry the weight of your entire life on your shoulders, something holy happens. You begin to feel the hands of the divine beneath you, invisible, steady, holding you even when you can't see them. You stop gripping so tightly to outcomes, and you start trusting in the unfolding. You stop trying to make people stay, and you start honoring the way love expands when it's not possessed. You stop controlling the narrative, and you start living the truth. This is not complacency. This is not apathy. This is not spiritual bypassing. This is the deepest courage there is, to trust your inner knowing more than external noise, to walk away when it dishonors your soul, to release what you've outgrown, even when your hands shake, to say yes to the quiet, sacred, unglamorous process of healing without needing applause, to no longer make decisions from fear, but from the freedom of your spirit. You are not here to be weighed down by old stories. You are not here to live in someone else's version of who you should be. You are not here to repeat ancestral patterns of suffering because you think pain is noble. You are here to break the cycle, to breathe a new breath, to say, it ends with me, not in anger, not in pride, but in clarity, in peace, in love. You are here to choose differently. And every moment offers that choice to cling or to flow, to resist or to surrender, to live from fear or from freedom. Some days you will forget. That's okay. Some days the grip will tighten again around your expectations, your history, your identity. But each time, the soul will gently remind you, you don't need to hold on. You are held. You don't need to carry it. You are carried. Letting go is not an event, it is a practice, a returning, a loosening, a remembering that the more you allow, the more you align, the more you trust, the more you transform. The more you flow, the more you heal, not by fixing anything, but by finally realizing that nothing essential was ever broken. You are not here to become someone else. You are here to unbecome everything that was never really you. Peel it back. The guilt, the people-pleasing, the perfectionism, the pressure to perform, the need to be understood by everyone, the urge to keep proving your worth. Let it all drop away. Strip yourself of everything that doesn't feel like truth. Watch how light you become when you stop dragging what you were never meant to carry. This is the miracle of flowing. It clears the space for the real you to emerge. Not the wounded self, not the performing self, not the pleasing self, the soul self, the one who trusts timing, the one who lives in presence, the one who doesn't argue with reality, the one who breathes deeply and walks lightly because they've realized that nothing real can be lost and nothing unreal is worth holding on to. And so the healing continues. It deepens. It doesn't always announce itself. It doesn't come with fireworks or grand revelations. Sometimes it's a quiet shift, the moment you don't react to the old trigger, the moment you choose silence over defending yourself, the moment you let someone go without needing closure. That's healing. That's flow. And you begin to realize that you are no longer in a rush. You are no longer desperate for answers. You are no longer searching for validation in eyes that do not know how to see you. You are no longer willing to abandon yourself for love. You are no longer willing to distort your truth just to be accepted. You flow now. You honor the rhythm of your own soul. You listen, not to the fear in your head, but to the knowing in your heart. You allow others to think what they think. You allow life to unfold in its own timing. You allow the unknown to be not a threat, but a temple. You are becoming free, not because the world has changed, but because you have. Because you no longer seek to control what cannot be controlled. Because you no longer fear the silence. Because you no longer need to carry every burden alone. Because you have remembered the sacred truth. The soul doesn't cling, it flows. And in that flowing, you begin to see others differently too. You stop demanding that they stay the same. You stop needing them to complete you. You stop blaming them for your wounds. You stop trying to convince, convert, or change them. You begin to love in a new way, not from need, but from overflow. Not from fear, but from freedom. Not to fill a hole, but to share your wholeness. You forgive, not to let them off the hook, but to unhook yourself from the chain of suffering. You release, not because you don't care, but because you've decided to care for your peace more than your pride. You walk away when needed, not in anger, but in truth. You stay when aligned, not out of fear, but out of love. This is the work of the soul. Not to fight, but to flow. Not to conquer, but to remember. Not to cling, but to let the river carry you home. And the more you do this, the more you will find that what is meant for you doesn't require effort to hold. It fits, it resonates, it flows with you. The people, the opportunities, the visions, they feel light, they feel aligned, they feel like truth. And those that don't, you bless them and release them. No resistance, no resentment, just clarity, just grace. You are not here to suffer. You are not here to earn love. You are not here to be everything for everyone. You are here to embody your soul. And the soul is not in a hurry. It is not in panic. It is not at war. It is water. It is wind. It is light. And it knows the way. Every moment you let go, something within you softens. The heart opens. The breath deepens. You begin to feel again not the sharpness of suffering, but the quiet pulse of aliveness. And in that aliveness, you meet yourself. Not the idea of you, not the projection, but the real you, the ancient you, the unshakable you. The one who has walked through fire and still chooses grace. The one who has lost so much and yet still sings. The one who has broken, bent, wept, crawled, and yet never forgot the truth, no matter how dim it became in the noise of the world. And the truth is this: you are not your trauma. You are not your past. You are not your wounds. You are the presence that witnessed it all. You are the light that survived. You are the consciousness that continues to rise. Your soul doesn't cling to pain because your soul knows pain is not your identity. Your soul doesn't cling to success because your soul knows success is not your worth. Your soul doesn't cling to certainty because your soul knows that life is never meant to be figured out. It's meant to be felt, danced, lived, flowed with. You begin to understand, not just mentally, but with your whole being. Resistance is the only thing that hurts. Not the event, not the loss, not the ending, the resistance to it, the refusal to let it move through you. The clinging to the idea that it should have been different. The obsession with rewriting the past in your mind. The ego screams, it wasn't supposed to be this way. But the soul whispers, it was. It had to be. Not as punishment, as preparation. Preparation for what? For this sacred moment of awakening, this sacred return to yourself, this sacred choice to no longer live in bondage to the past, this sacred breath of surrender, this sacred decision to let life love you without needing you to control it. You see, now peace is not found in fixing, it is found in flowing. It is not found in having all the answers. It is found in becoming the space where the answers can land. And that space is still. That space is soft. That space is unclenched, unarmored, unafraid. So many of us carry invisible armor. We tighten around life, bracing for impact. We anticipate rejection. We rehearse abandonment. We prepare for loss. We protect ourselves from the very experiences that would set us free. But freedom never comes through defense. Freedom comes through openness, through willingness, through flow. Drop the armor now. It is not needed here. You are safe to be soft. You are safe to be open. You are safe to let go. And yes, your mind will tell you that to flow is to risk everything, that if you surrender, you'll fall apart. But the soul knows what falls apart is only what was never true to begin with. Let the false self unravel, let the story dissolve, let the illusion burn. You are not here to live a tightly controlled life. You are here to live a truthful life. And truth has no need for clinging. You don't have to force what's meant for you. You don't have to prove your worth. You don't have to hold on to love with a white knuckle grip. Love that is real doesn't need to be caged. It flows to you freely as an echo of your own alignment. This is the shift. This is the healing. This is the moment you become new, not by becoming someone else, but by shedding the untrue. And the world around you begins to mirror this. You attract with ease what you used to chase. You release what no longer resonates without fear. You speak your truth with clarity and softness. You stop asking, will they accept me? And start asking, am I accepting myself? Because the soul doesn't seek approval. It lives in integrity. And that integrity is not perfection. It's not a curated image. It's the quiet knowing that you are who you say you are, even when no one is watching. It's the soft power of being at home in your own spirit. It's the lightness of not needing to cling to masks. You are returning to that now, and in your return, you heal. You heal generations of suppression. You heal lifetimes of clinging. You heal the fractured relationship between your mind and your essence. Because flowing is not just personal, it is sacred. It is ancestral. It is collective. When you choose to flow, you liberate others. When you let go, you give others permission to do the same. When you live in presence, you become a lighthouse for those still lost in the storm of control. You don't need to save anyone. Your light is the invitation. Your flow is the medicine. So don't be afraid of the emptiness that comes when you let go. That emptiness is not void. It is space. It is room for the real to emerge. It is the fertile ground of transformation. And in that ground, new life will grow. Not because you forced it, not because you planned it, but because you became available to it. You flowed, and now you see that nothing real is ever lost, that what was taken was only ever borrowed, that what fell away was only meant to walk you to the threshold of your deeper becoming, that every detour was a necessary redirection, that every heartbreak was a holy invitation, that every ending was really a beginning dressed in silence. You see that clinging never protected you, it only exhausted you. You see that control was a disguise for fear. You see that your safety has never been in the known, but in the truth. You see that love, real love, never requires you to abandon yourself. And so you choose again and again to flow, not perfectly, not always easily, but honestly, gently, wholeheartedly. Because flowing is not about being above pain. It's about not becoming it. It's about allowing yourself to feel fully, vulnerably, without letting that feeling become your identity. It's about meeting yourself where you are while still trusting where you're going. It's about no longer carrying yesterday's weight into tomorrow's miracle. Then let us close, softly and clearly, like the last ripple of a river disappearing into the sea. You are not here to grasp. You are not here to control the current. You are not here to rewrite the past or manipulate the future. You are here to be, to open, to breathe, to allow the mystery to move through you like a sacred wind, to become so light that nothing sticks, nothing stains, nothing steals your peace. Flowing doesn't mean nothing matters. It means you no longer suffer unnecessarily over what does. Let the world change. Let people leave. Let dreams evolve. Let chapters close. Let the self you once were dissolve into the self you're becoming. Let it all move. Let it all flow. Because the soul doesn't cling. It flows. It trusts. It breathes. It loves. And it remembers always that nothing real can ever be lost. And neither can you. You are the river. Now flow.